Let me tell you something most people never say out loud. You can want love deeply and still destroy it the second it feels safe. Fearful avoidants live in that exact contradiction. They crave deep emotional intimacy, but the moment it shows up and feels real, they panic. Why? Because love feels like risk. It feels like exposure. It feels like losing control. And somewhere in their nervous system, love got wired to danger. So when a partner shows up with consistency, care, and genuine affection, it doesn't feel comforting. It feels suffocating. It feels suspicious, so they pull back. They start to overthink. They look for flaws. They replay past wounds and assume history will repeat itself. And before you know it, they're sabotaging the exact connection they longed for. They'll ghost, they'll pick fights, they'll shut down emotionally, they'll accuse their partner of being too much or not enough. And the irony, they're not trying to hurt anyone, they're trying to protect themselves. From abandonment, from engulfment, from the unbearable weight of being vulnerable. But here's the hard truth: you cannot experience real love without being emotionally available. You can't receive consistency and safety if you're only comfortable with chaos. You can't keep blaming others for leaving when you're the one pushing them away. Healing starts when you stop confusing healthy love with danger. When you realize you don't have to run the second someone sees you. You don't have to perform, you don't have to earn love, you are allowed to receive it even if your past taught you otherwise. That story in your head that says love always ends badly, it's just that, a story. It's not your fate, it's not your truth, but it is your responsibility to rewrite it. And no, it won't feel natural at first. Healthy love might feel boring or overwhelming or triggering, but it's not because it's wrong. It's because it's unfamiliar. So when love knocks and it feels calm instead of chaotic, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, am I actually in danger? Or am I just uncomfortable with being seen, accepted, and loved without conditions? Because that's not danger, that's healing. Fearful avoidants crave intimacy but fear the vulnerability it requires. They long for deep connection, but the moment it starts to feel real, their defenses come up. They want to be loved, seen, held, but not if it means being exposed, because to them, vulnerability isn't softness, it's danger. It's the open door through which rejection can enter. So even when someone genuinely cares for them, they brace for the worst. They anticipate abandonment, they prepare for betrayal, and sometimes they create the very loss they fear just to be the one who leaves first. They'll say they're busy, they'll act distant, they'll start analyzing every word and every gesture. And not in a way that brings clarity, but in a way that confirms their fears. They'll assume silence means disinterest. They'll interpret affection as manipulation, and they won't ask for reassurance, they'll just quietly withdraw. Inside, they're overwhelmed. Their mind says, this is too much. Their heart says, but I need this. They're caught in the pull of craving closeness and fearing it at the same time. So they might show affection one moment, then disappear the next. They might open up, only to shut down days later. It's not about games. It's not about control. It's about survival. Because somewhere in their past, vulnerability cost them something. Maybe it was trust betrayed. Maybe it was a parent who wasn't consistent. Maybe it was a heartbreak that left them shattered. Whatever the cause, their body remembers, and now even safe love feels unsafe. Even kindness feels suspicious. Even peace feels like the calm before the storm. So they keep their guard up. They test people. They wait for them to leave. They need constant proof that love is real, but even when they get it, they don't fully believe it. Because if they let it in, they risk everything. They risk being hurt. They risk being known. They risk needing someone who might not stay, and that's the paradox. They want love so deeply it aches, but they've trained themselves to run from the very thing they need most. It's a painful cycle, one they didn't choose consciously, but one they repeat unconsciously. Because if love has only ever meant pain, then safety will feel unfamiliar, and what's unfamiliar often feels wrong. So they sabotage connection not because they don't care, but because they care too much and don't know how to hold it. They're terrified of losing someone real, so they leave before they're left, not realizing that real love can only grow in the space where fear is named, not avoided. When love feels real, their nervous system interprets it as a threat. It's not a conscious choice they make. It's an automatic, deep-rooted reaction wired into their body from years of pain or neglect. Their brain receives signals that say, danger is near, even though on the surface everything seems safe and calm. Because for fearful avoidance, love isn't just a feeling, it's a complex landscape of risk. It means opening their heart to someone else, and opening their heart feels like lowering the walls that have protected them for so long. Their body remembers times when being vulnerable led to heartbreak, when trusting someone led to being hurt. So when a partner shows up with genuine care, consistency, and affection, it can trigger a flood of stress hormones. Their heart races, their breath shortens. Their mind races with worst-case scenarios. They become hyper, aware of every small detail. Did they say the wrong thing? Are they being too clingy? Is this going to end badly? Their nervous system goes into fight, flight, or freeze mode. Fight means they might argue or pick a fight to push their partner away. Flight means they withdraw or disappear, creating distance to feel safe again. Freeze means shutting down emotionally, becoming numb or unreachable. None of this is about punishing their partner. It's a survival instinct, a way their body tries to protect them from what it perceives as danger, even though the danger is only a feeling, not reality. This disconnect between what their mind wants and what their body feels creates confusion. They want connection, but their body screams to pull back. They want closeness, but they feel panic. They want love, but they fear it will consume them. And because this happens below their conscious awareness, it's hard to explain or control. They might feel guilty or frustrated with themselves for pushing people away, but the body is doing what it believes it must to keep them safe. This is why fearful avoidants often sabotage healthy relationships without meaning to, because their nervous system is stuck in a survival loop. They react to love like it's a threat, even when it's their deepest desire. The key to healing is learning to calm the nervous system, to recognize when the fear is old pain, not current danger, to sit with discomfort instead of fleeing from it, to build trust not just with their partner, but with themselves. It takes time and patience, because reprogramming the nervous system isn't easy, but it's possible, and when it happens, love stops feeling like a threat. It becomes a safe place, a place where they can finally relax and be fully seen, where vulnerability is no longer terrifying but freeing, where connection is no longer dangerous but life-giving, and that is the transformation every fearful avoidant deserves. They sabotage relationships by withdrawing, overthinking, or pushing people away. It's a pattern that repeats itself again and again, often without them even realizing it. When things start to feel close, when emotions run deep, their instinct is to retreat. They pull back physically, emotionally, or sometimes both. They become distant, harder to reach, not because they don't care, but because the closeness feels overwhelming. Their mind begins to race. They replay conversations, searching for mistakes or signs that something is wrong. They question every word, every action. They look for hidden meanings. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They think about what might go wrong, what they might lose. This overthinking fuels their fear. And fear pushes them further away. When they withdraw, their partner is left confused, hurt, or frustrated. They may try to reach out to understand, but the distance grows. The more their partner tries, the more scared they become. This creates a vicious cycle. Their fear of being hurt leads them to push people away, which then creates the very hurt they feared. They become masters at self-sabotage without meaning to be. Sometimes, they don't even realize they're doing it until the relationship is on the brink. They might suddenly shut down, stop answering messages, avoid difficult conversations, or they might lash out, saying things they don't fully mean just to create space. This behavior can feel confusing to their partners, who might see it as rejection or lack of love. But for fearful avoidants, it's a defense mechanism. It's their way of protecting themselves from vulnerability, because vulnerability feels dangerous. It feels like losing control, and losing control feels unbearable. By withdrawing, they regain a sense of safety, even if it's temporary. By overthinking, they try to predict and prevent pain. By pushing people away, they keep their emotional world contained and manageable. But this comes at a cost. It stops them from experiencing the very connection they crave. It leaves their partner feeling unseen, unimportant, and alone. It creates distance where there could be closeness. Healing begins when they start to notice these patterns, when they become aware of how fear drives their actions, when they learn to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, when they practice communicating honestly about their feelings. It's not easy to break old habits, but it's possible, because underneath the withdrawal and overthinking is a desire to be loved, a desire to be safe, and when they can step into that vulnerability with support and patience, the cycle can change. The withdrawal turns into reaching out, the overthinking turns into trust, the pushing away turns into holding close, and that's where real love begins to grow. The urge to protect themselves overrides their desire for connection. It's a conflict that plays out deep inside them every time they start to get close to someone. On one hand, they long for love, for intimacy, for the feeling of being truly seen and accepted. On the other hand, their instinct screams, "Be careful, don't get too close." This protective impulse comes from a place of pain and fear. It's rooted in past experiences where trust was broken or needs were ignored, so even when they want connection, their body reacts as if there's a threat nearby. This causes them to build walls to keep others at a distance. They become hyper, vigilant, scanning for any sign of danger or rejection. When they perceive a threat, even if it's imagined, they act to keep themselves safe. Sometimes that means shutting down emotionally. Sometimes it means creating distance. Sometimes it means pushing their partner away before they can be hurt. This urge to protect overrides the natural desire to reach out and connect. It becomes the dominant force in their relationships. They may feel torn between wanting closeness and needing space. This inner tug-of-war causes confusion and frustration for both them and their partners. They may apologize for withdrawing but feel powerless to stop themselves. It's like a reflex that they can't control. Even when they understand their behavior is harmful, the fear is stronger. It's a survival mechanism. They believe protecting themselves is the only way to avoid pain. Unfortunately, this protective stance often leads to loneliness. By pushing people away, they end up isolated, and the very thing they desire connection slips further out of reach. Breaking free from this pattern requires courage. It means learning to tolerate vulnerability without retreating. It means recognizing that not every moment of closeness is dangerous. It means trusting that they can handle discomfort without losing themselves. It's about rewiring old fears and building new patterns of safety. This is not easy because protection feels safe even when it keeps them stuck. It takes time to teach their nervous system that connection can be a source of strength, not weakness. When they do, they start to notice a shift. The urge to protect softens. The desire for connection grows stronger. They become more willing to stay present in difficult moments. They begin to reach out instead of pulling back. They learn that vulnerability is not the enemy, it's the gateway to real intimacy, and real intimacy is what they truly crave. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but every small step toward trust is a step away from fear. And every time they choose connection over protection, they open the door to love. Consistency and care may feel overwhelming due to past trauma. It might sound strange to hear that kindness can be too much. But for someone who has been hurt or neglected, consistency can trigger deep-seated fears, because their past experiences taught them that people who say they care don't always stay. That love is unpredictable. That promises are broken. So when someone shows up day after day with steady affection and support, their nervous system doesn't know what to do with it. Instead of feeling safe, they feel vulnerable. It feels unfamiliar, almost suspicious. They wonder if there's a catch, if the other person is hiding something, if the calm before the storm is about to end. This reaction is rooted in trauma. When early relationships were inconsistent, chaotic, or hurtful, the mind learned to brace for disappointment. It became conditioned to expect pain even in moments of peace. So when they experience genuine care and reliability, it can trigger anxiety. Their brain sends signals that something must be wrong. Their body reacts with tension, discomfort, or even panic. They might feel restless or trapped. They might start to doubt their own worthiness of such love. Why would someone stay with me? They ask themselves, am I enough? This doubt can cause them to pull away or test their partner's commitment. They might create drama or conflict, unconsciously trying to confirm the belief that love won't last. It's a painful defense mechanism because it feels safer to predict disappointment than to hope for something that feels too good to be true. This is why healing requires patience both from themselves and their partners. It's not about rushing past the discomfort. It's about sitting with it, learning to recognize when old trauma is coloring their perception of the present. When consistency feels overwhelming, it's a sign that their nervous system is still healing, that they're learning new ways to feel safe and secure. It means relearning what love looks like when it's steady and reliable. It means trusting that kindness isn't a trap, that care isn't conditional, that someone can be there for them day in and day out without disappearing. This process takes time. There will be moments of doubt and fear, but with support and understanding, they can begin to let go of old wounds. They can start to accept consistency as a gift, not a threat. And when they do, what once felt overwhelming becomes comforting. What once triggered anxiety becomes a source of strength. They begin to see that love can be safe, that it can be steady, that it can be a place to rest, not a battlefield to survive, and in that space, real connection can grow. So, if consistency and care feel overwhelming to you, remember this. Your reaction is not a flaw, it's a sign of your strength and survival. But you don't have to stay trapped in the past. With patience, courage, and support, you can learn to welcome steady love. You can rewrite the story your trauma has told you, and one day, consistency won't feel like a threat. It will feel like home.